You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.
Welcome to the Hot Options Report, your premier source for insight into the fast-moving options market. Each day, we'll track down the products that are dominating the options chains and impacting your trading account, from Nvidia to VIX and everything in between. If it's lighting up the options tape, then you'll find it on the Hot Options Report.
All right, everybody, that music means we are back. It is after the closing bell. Time for a little bit of Thor, the Hot Options Report. My name, of course, Mark Longo, coming at you on Thursday, January 29th from the Options Insider Radio Network, your home for all of your favorite options podcasts. Of course, if you want even more in your life, theoptionsinsider.com/pro has some pretty sweet exclusives, if I do say so myself. And of course, if you're listening to this show, you're interested in some options flow, the place to carve it up, generate your own reports, find your own hot options, the Hot Options Report. .com. You can't beat the data and you can't beat the price. The Hot Options Report.com, the place to go to kick the tires and light the fires as we see what was lighting up the tape out there in the options market today. Was it a banger day in the options market? The answer was yes. Earnings season is delivering. Cost you 671,000 contracts to break into our top 10 today. That is certainly more paper than we've seen of late. Not quite the almost 1 million contracts we've seen. Still an impressive number out there to break into the top 10. That gets us to our old pal AMD. AMD, again, 671,000 contracts. AMD selling off a little bit today, but they had a absolutely wild day in between. They had a 20-handle range almost intraday before settling out off 56 cents, right at 252.18. And the hot option in AMD today, an interesting one, was the 220 puts going up 48,000 times for 3 cents on the bid. So, yeah, looks like somebody was bailing on these because there was OI on this strike. We did a little digging. Looks like they traded about a week ago for 70 cents, so on the 22nd. So, interesting. If they bought these for 70 cents, they're obviously wearing it on this trade right now. Interesting strike and level for AMD to kick off our list as we keep climbing to number 9. It's Oracle making its way back onto the list today. Man, Oracle, a pale shadow, roughly half of what it was back last year when it really broke onto our charts during earnings season. Oracle selling off again today, $3.79 to close at $169.01, off a little over 2, about 2.2%, putting up 691,000 contracts for the number 9 spot out there today. The hot option in Oracle today, listeners, not exactly to the upside. It's the 152 half puts changing hands over 70,000 times out there today, listeners. Average price for these, about 25 cents now. Looks like paper might have been hitting the bid on these. This was an opening trade, so it could be someone looking to establish a line in the sand to potentially buy some Oracle. Again, going to take a lot to get Oracle down to 152.5 by tomorrow's close, but we'll keep an eye on these. Otherwise, looks like they're pocketing a nice, cool 25 cents as we keep climbing to number 8. Looks like Netflix shareholders weren't pocketing much today. The stock selling off again today, off $1.50 or 1 3/4% to close $83.16 out there, putting up 730,000 contracts for the number 8 spot, the hot option in Netflix today. Almost 31,000 of the 83 calls expiring tomorrow. Average price for these, 66 cents. These are obviously not looking great. They are still in the money, but only 1 day left to go. They're looking a lot better than they were at the low, though. The low was 82.35, so 83 is looking a lot better now, but we'll keep an eye and see if we can get to at least break even for these calls before they go the way of the dodo tomorrow as we keep climbing to number 7, a name that a lot of eyes are going to be on right now as we're recording this, listeners. Yeah, it's Apple. Apple popping today $1.75, closing 258.18, putting up exactly 1 million contracts for the number 7 spot, the hot option in Apple today. Going back to the upside, not quite as outlandish as the trades we saw in Microsoft and Meta yesterday, where people were rolling the bones on the par strikes. This time we're seeing 35,000 of the 260. So a little less than $2 out of the money calls. Average price for these, $4.14. So they weren't giving these away. Obviously, if you were buying these today, you need Apple to get the heck out of bed. You need it to pull a Meta and not a Microsoft. And let's see so far in the after hours, how are things looking? Looks like you're trending in the Meta direction, listeners. Apple up a little over $5, trading 263 and a third in the after hours right now. So if you paid $4 for the 260s, listeners, you still might be wearing it a little bit. You need Apple to do obviously a little more than this, but at the very least, it is trending in the right direction. We'll come back tomorrow to see how these worked out as we keep climbing to the number 6 spot. This is the name that's having a rough year. This is good old MicroStrategy, aka Strategy, putting up 1.06 million contracts today and taking it on the chin yet again. Selling off 15 and a quarter and nearly 10% to close at 143.19. Just a rough day and a rough year for Strategy. What was the hot option on a rough day in the monster? It was 64,000 of the 167 halves. Average price for these, about a nickel. I mean, it makes sense. They're pretty far out of the money with only a day to go. Even at that point, this is opening flow, so maybe somebody was looking for a rebound out there. The high today was 156, so even at that level, 167.5 seemed like a pretty distant strike. If you bought these, looks like someone threw away a little over a nickel 64,000 times, but we'll keep an eye on it. Maybe Strategy can recover tomorrow as we keep climbing to number 5. Did our number 5 name recover today? The answer was no. Palantir continuing their sell-off, selling off another $5.49, or about 3.5% to close at 151.86, a level we haven't seen in Palantir in a little while out there, listeners. When's the last time we talked about a 150 handle in Palantir? We have to go back to November of last year, listeners. That's when we got down to about 155. Obviously below that now. Before that, you have to go all the way back to September of last year. Again, the 155, 156 level, not quite as low as we are right now. To get down to that level, you have to go pretty much to about July of last year. So interesting levels right now for Palantir, putting up 1.14 million contracts for the number 5 spot and the hot option in Palantir today. Going to the dark side, 53,000 of the 150 puts. Average price for these, $2.03. So if you're scooping these, you obviously think Palantir has more room to fall to the downside. They did get there. They got down to about 147.12, so these were nearly $3 in the money at one point. So these were looking decent. Obviously looking a little better then than they are now, but we'll keep an eye on these as we move on into tomorrow and up to the number 4 spot. You knew Microsoft and Meta were going to make it on the list. In fact, our chat was guessing that beforehand, that Microsoft and Meta were going to make it. Well, surprise, surprise, they did. Meta coming in at number 4 today, rallying hard. We talked about it yesterday, folks. Rolling the bones for $11 on those par calls, a.k.a. the 700 calls. It seemed maybe a tad rich for a lottery ticket on earnings, but they worked out spectacularly. The stock closing $738.31. So again, if you paid $11 for those, they're worth at least $38.31 right now. The high was, of course, they got up to $744. So these were a very impressive winner out there today, listeners. What was lighting up the tape today? With 1.42 million contracts changing hands in Meta, it was 48,000 of these 750s, the 7 halves. Average price for these, $2.18. And again, we got close, got to 744. So these were opening trades. So if you bought these, might be sweating a little bit. If you sold them, again, you could still be sweating, but you're looking a little bit better right now on the dark side as we keep climbing. Speaking of the dark side, our number 3 name, listeners, Microsoft went fully to the dark side after earnings last night, selling off about exactly 10% or 48 handles to close at 433.5. So kind of a rough one for Softy bulls and certainly for the folks who were buying the 500 calls heading into earnings. That's what happens. So we call them lottery tickets, listeners. Sometimes you hit big like Meta. A lot of times you lose like in Microsoft. Putting up 2.34 million contracts for the number 3 spot out there today, listeners. And the hot option in Microsoft, this is an interesting one. Not one I think a lot of people expected. It's the 575 calls changing hands 202,000 times. Now, before you get all worked up, 575. That's 142 handles out of the money. These are not expiring tomorrow. They're not even expiring this month. They're expiring pretty much at the end of the year in December, listeners. So obviously buying a lot of duration if you are indeed buying these. The average price for these was $10.82, listeners. So bit of interesting stuff. Looks like it could have been part of a 525, 575, 625 butterfly. Went up 100,000 by 200,000 of these 575s and 100,000 of the 625s. That looks like what it probably was. Again, 100,000 lot butterfly. Starting at the 525 strike by December. Do you like that, listeners? Does that float your boat? Looks like somebody did to the tune of 100,000 contracts. So we'll keep an eye on that as well, listeners, as we keep climbing to the number 2 spot out there today, listeners. Yes, what was number 2? It was Nvidia. Nvidia dropping to number 2, even though it rallied today $1 to close at 192.51, putting up 2.54 million contracts. That's usually enough for the number 1 spot, but not today. It drops you to number 2. Nvidia putting up 211,000 contracts of the 192 half calls for 89 cents today. That was your hot option. 192 half, that is pretty much exactly where we went out. So obviously you need another 90 cents on top of that if you're buying these. If you sold them, you need Nvidia to hang out here or a little bit below tomorrow, and you'll be a happy camper. As we keep climbing to number 1 on our rundown today, listeners, was Tesla and Tesla shareholders happy campers today? The answer was no. Tesla earnings also after the bell last night, and not exactly looking great. Tesla selling off nearly 15 handles, or about 3.5% to close 416.57, putting up 2.79 million contracts for the number 1 spot out there today. And the hot option in Tesla land, almost 100,000, 99,972 to be precise, of the 420 puts. An appropriate strike for Tesla, if ever there was one. Average price for these, nearly $5, $4.93. So if you scoop these, obviously you're trending in the right direction. You need Tesla to keep selling off tomorrow. The low today was 414.62, so you need something along those lines to make those puts at least break even, if not make a little bit of money. Of course, if you sold them, you're looking decent right now, but you're probably still sweating. We'll find out how these work out tomorrow on your next episode of the Hot Options Report. And remember, check out our friends over there at the Hot Options Report if you want to check out the flow in any name. The ones we did today, maybe you want to do some other names we don't have a chance to squeeze into on the show. It's a big market after all. It's all there for you. TheHotOptionsReport.com. You can't beat the data. You can't beat the price. Check it out. I think you're going to like it. Back again tomorrow, kicking things off in the morning with volatility views. And we're back for our pro folks talking unusual activity on options oddities. And then we're back again after the closing bell. Another episode of the Hot Options Report. Stay safe out there, everybody.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.